Inquiry-based learning kind of gets the student more involved in their own schoolwork. It gets them more engaged.
It teaches you to be more of an active student. You have to prove to your teacher that you know what you're talking about.
It is really collaborative.
It's being able to make your own questions and learn based on what you want to learn, not what you're forced to learn.
When teachers think about inquiry-based learning, we focus it around the question. Having that question at the center then is kind of the catapult for being able to do the reading or do the work or have the discussions, because it's all in service of answering this one guiding question.
I've been a teacher for 12 years. The class is an English 12 class. It's composition.
So we're starting our unit on existentialism, which we've talked about a little bit. And by the end of today, the only thing I want us to think about is different ways to approach answering that question that's on the board.
The unit we're doing now is existentialism. Who am I? And what is my purpose in life? We center it around that question.
This is a question that you're going to ask throughout your life. Right now, as seniors, you're at this sort of existential juncture in your life where you're sort of trying to figure out what the next step is. So these are famous people, so you don't know these people. And so you can speculate how these people could answer this question. How would they answer this question? Yes.
So it's not why do we think they exist?
Why would
do they think what do we think they exist?
Yes.
Yeah. So starting with the question, it's like going right into the deep end. And why not? Because that's so engaging. It's so much more interesting than going, here's a vocabulary for this unit.
You up?
And then we use literature. So how does Camus answer this question? How does he approach absurdism in The Stranger? You know, how does he think about life, and how does this character in this book approach life and think about it?
I feel like starting with a question was a great idea because we had a chance to explore it through different views. Everyone in the classes kind of developed their own question.
I wrote promote equality of feelings, thoughts, gender, sexuality, etc. So equality.
Way to boil it down, Brenda.
She was born to be brave.
Squash your side conversations before they even start.
One of the things I've been working on the last couple of years is student-led text-based discussions, which get them to ask the questions that they're interested in instead of me asking the questions.
So guys, get out a copy of The Stranger, get out some paper and a pen.
We look at the physical space that the discussion happens in. So you're in a circle, you know, everybody can see everybody. There's no extra spaces. We talk about walls, so, you know, like no book bags in front of you. It should be completely open because we're having this open conversation here.
Do we have a facilitator? Nope. While you guys are getting ready, does somebody want to facilitate this?
We have people to facilitate the discussion rather than Miss Wellington doing that. She usually just sits back and lets us talk freely.
Jeremy?
I wrote, how does he remain so vacant with his feelings still?
When we read the book, Miss Wellington doesn't point out the philosophies. She has us figure that out on our own. And I think that's way more effective because when you make those connections in your brain, they stick with you for longer.
I think now I see the connection more between the character and the author's philosophy.
In Camus' philosophy, in it states an absurdism that the universe is indifferent to human struggles. And one of the things that I noticed is that Mersal is most definitely, from what I can see, the embodiment of just that pure idea of absurdism.
It occurred to me that anyway, one more Sunday was over, that Maman was buried now, that I was going back to work, and that really nothing had changed. So, Yeah.
Nothing changed. He's like, meh, I guess.
Once I had to remove myself from that conversation. Like, they sit in the circle and I have to stand outside because it doesn't work when I'm there. That was like a huge aha moment.
I feel like it's really hard to access his emotions. I feel like he buries them way deep down, and something really big and really tragic might have to happen.
If we come to a part of the conversation where I feel like you're getting some really good ideas and I want you to think about them a little more, I might ask you to stop and write. Okay?
When I first took an English course here, it was very traditional. We would have a book to read every night, and then write a report on it. Then we would have tests. We don't usually have tests anymore, but we still are able to show evidence of what we're learning, and I feel that having discussions with my peers really helps that.
It's like, this is the same as it's always been.
The biggest thing for me as a teacher was not giving them what I wanted them to get out of the text. And so that helps that inquiry. I just gave you something to read. What do you think about it? And then the conversation always gets around to what I wanted them to think about it. And more than not, it goes beyond what I even thought that they would have gotten from it. Ooh.
Yeah.
That's good. Take a moment, write, think about this. How does this story work if the main character doesn't actually have a want?
We're going to be doing a PowerPoint presentation where we answer the essential question is, why do we exist? What's our philosophy of life? It's to work on our presentation skills and also to think deeper about life.
One of the mini assignments for starting this project was to interview somebody about what their purpose in life may be to them, why they think they exist. What is art to you?
Well, art to me is creating something, coming up with your ideas. I'm like curious about a lot of things. I'll try to do things that I don't know anything about and kind of figure them out through my failures. But it kind of keeps you alive.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
I interviewed my grandmother, and basically I asked her the question, what does she think the meaning of her life is? And basically is we're all put on this world for a purpose, and I really like that idea, so I'm trying to form my presentation around that because I really like that piece from that interview.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna sort of circulate, but by the end of the class, I want those last 2 boxes filled out. All right, spread out, get to work. Get critiquing. So today we had the students pair up in groups and do a draft form of their presentation.
Okay, so we as humans exist for biological reasons, which is reproduction.
So this is the same problem you have, though. It's like you have this list of things that you like.
I need the counter argument.
Where's the philosophy in that? And are they enough? Is that enough for you? Is this all enough for a life for you? Does that feel like a complete existence?
So what are the only things that we can... Why do I exist? I believe that I and people as a whole have existed.
So we want you guys to fill in these rows first. Today we had 6 presentations for the 8th grade class. They're about to come up to the high school, and so we thought it would be like a good introduction to, what kind of thinking happens in the high school. Let's just give it up for Colby Clark. He's our first presenter.
All right, so my purpose in life is to make an impact, whether it be with family and friends, on the athletic fields, with my future career, or within my current community or future community. Baseball's a lot like life. When you're up trying to teach in front of a class or present in front of a class, you're learning more than you would if you're just being preached what was being taught. Coming home, ready to go the next day.
Cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am. First, you are doubting, and you can't doubt that you are thinking because doubting is a form of thinking. So from your perspective, you're probably thinking, oh, this sounds insane. But if you think about it, maybe I'm just a figment of your imagination, and this is a really weird thought.
Yeah. All right. Jessica Massey.
So, why do I exist? I have this kind of staircase theory, and when you're climbing that staircase, each step may or may not have something blocking the way to move up. Before, I was like, oh, we're just kind of put on this world, but I didn't know there was like an actual meaning. And going through this, I realized that, oh, maybe there is a meaning, and I look at it a little differently now than I would have before. Forget about what's happened in the past almost. Yeah, I've kind of progressed a lot in writing from day one of junior year till now. My writing has gone probably 1,000 times better.
My papers were just straightforward. This is, I had my claim, my warrant. I just went through. I wrote a very boring paper. And when she assigned us the free write paper, I don't know if you guys remember that or not. I found my own voice through that paper. I handed it in. She came over to me and she goes, "You've never written anything like this before. Are you sure you wrote it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I wrote it." And she's like, "You found your voice writing this paper." And she's like, "I want you to keep working on it. I want you to find it in every other paper the rest of the year."
So we have a couple minutes. I'm just curious on now, like, your opinion. How are you liking this book? You love it? At the end of every unit, I'll ask the students what worked and what didn't work, and how did we work together as a class, and how can we work better for our next unit. Oh, no judgment from Rousseau. It was just a point you brought up that I thought was interesting. So what can you tell me about the flow conversation?
A lot of Daniel, Quinn, Jeremy, Josie,
Yeah.
some Katie in there, some Bryn in there.
What can we do to try and make sure that everybody is engaging in the conversation? It's amazing when you want their input and when you give them a chance to design it with you. Again, motivation goes up, interest goes up, your product is stronger. So you have to drop the ego. You have to drop the I'm right and I know what I'm doing, or I have this idea. Yeah, I can come in and say I have that idea, but if that's not working, I have to be open to that and not like hurt, And again, if you can do that, it's fantastic, but it's really hard. Is there anything you'd like to change about the discussions?
I like the switching seats thing.
I think that does work.
We have a district-wide exhibition where students can present any of the projects or, inquiry-based units that they've done in class, and they pick the ones that kind of resonated most with them, and they present that to their family and the community to share what it is that they've learned. And having that authentic audience to demonstrate, this is, what I figured out, this is how I answered this, is really meaningful to them.
It's knowing that your say means something in the school.
Inquiry-based learning makes us figure things out for ourselves, and I think that gives it way more value and sticks with us way longer.
Come on, Mr. Diamond.
It'll hold you.
Get on it.
It means you are not the disseminator of information and knowledge. You are the facilitator. It means dropping that control, and it means giving it to them. And I think that's terrifying for a lot of teachers.
It's really worthwhile when you can see what it does for students. It's starting with the question instead of starting with the answer, and it's a really cool way to get the kids excited about their learning.